Welcome back to another segment of Security IQ. Today we have with us Nicole Barkas. Say hi, Nicole.
Hello.
And we were talking earlier a little bit about parenting during these crazy times. Nicole is in law enforcement and she is a mom. And just like Min and myself, we're constantly trying to walk a tightrope and allow our children to be children and do what we need to do, but also can't ignore our inner security professional instincts. So Nicole, what does that feel like for you? I mean, I kind of feel like you're more on the front lines than we are.
Yeah.
It is very long days of me being away from my children because I work. It is my kids and my husband and my family being worried about me, wondering whether or not I'm coming home. I work midnights, so they worry whether or not I'm coming home in the morning, if I'm gonna make it home.
Did you work yesterday night before coming on?
No, thank God.
Okay.
I was gonna say you look pretty good for not having any sleep.
Yeah,
Must be all that Ho'oponopono.
Oh, Ho'oponopono, yes. We are definitely, it's definitely challenging, especially with this climate of COVID. Our children not being allowed to socially interact or play with other people, our kids having to wear masks, we having to wear masks. And everyone says, oh, this is the new normal. And
it's not normal.
Nope.
It's not normal for children. It's not normal for children. It's not normal for adults. Okay. Children need the interaction with other children. They need the physical connection. Otherwise, how do they learn how to integrate into society later on? How do they learn how to help other people if they can't connect with other people? The visual cues based on the face, they're losing.
It's so interesting you say that, because I was reading an article about babies with the visual cues. They can't see your face, and like mentally you don't realize it because you're not a baby, but they really do look for the expression way more because that's their only means of communication.
Yep.
It never dawned on me. I mean, my kids, obviously we don't wear masks in the house, and we've been home. We have the flexibility to really spend more time at home, but I never thought of that. Like the parents who have to drop their kids off at daycare where all of the adults have to wear masks.
They can't see the faces.
Yeah.
They can't see the faces anymore.
They can't see the faces. They can't see the visual cues. They don't understand. They're missing out on that integral part of their development.
The nuances that's there.
The nuances. So there are certain things, if when you turn around and you're going to a moment of anger or a moment of happiness, there are like milliseconds, and your face does a facial switch in those milliseconds, which as an infant you pick up on. As an adult, unless you're looking for that, you're not going to always pick up on it. And I have an interesting story if we have time. I did date someone before I married my husband. I dated someone, and he used to have what I called nasty face. And
we have the bitch face. It's okay.
I think I have that. I think I suffer from that problem.
No. It was a millisecond. And if I didn't catch the face, I wouldn't catch when he was going to explode on me.
Ooh, wow.
So yes. So the visual cue was here. And if I didn't catch that millisecond visual cue, I wasn't prepared for the bombardment of when he would lose his ever-living mind on me. And you're like, what type of man would lose his mind on you knowing you work in law enforcement? Yeah, another cop. But,
And you both carry guns.
But let's just say that millisecond would prepare me, and I'd be like, oh, it's coming. And I was ready to engage when the tidal wave hit of the anger. That, and children are missing out on that. In school, at home. I mean, when I'm walking, in the neighborhood or whatever it is, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm sorry. You can call me a super spreader. I'm okay with that. You're entitled to your opinion.
By the way, you have to have gotten tested at some point. Do they force you to get tested?
No.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Have you been sick? Just curious. Okay.
Nope.
Because I know, I'm not going to name the university, but I know one university that's testing everybody every 2 weeks, literally forcing all the employees to be tested who's going to be in the office tested every 2 weeks.
I mean,
Wow.
they take our temperatures and they tell us if we're not feeling well not to come into work. But luckily, you know, knock on wood, I've been healthy. The only reason they told me to quarantine at one point is because people I was surrounded with had come down with COVID, and they didn't know whether or not I was going to come down with COVID. And luckily, nothing happened to me. I didn't get sick at all.
That's good.
And you know, and I have little kids to worry about, just like we all do. And how do we navigate? How do we navigate our children through this unprecedented time? But like I was saying, I'm walking in the neighborhood, and this little kid, I mean, the baby had to be like 18 months old, and the parents are there wearing masks, and you know, they're with the kid, and the kid's got a mask on, and the kid looks at me, and all you could see in the baby's expression was that I must have looked like a unicorn.
Right.
Because the kid like was staring at me.
Yeah.
Staring at me, which leads me to believe that the parents might be wearing masks all day long around this child, or the child is only surrounded by people who are wearing masks, and this child was just in awe, just like, and I'm like, I remember calling my husband going, I'm a unicorn. And my husband going like, I said, this little baby, this little 18-month-old child is sitting there staring at me.
And that's
the 6 months of this child's life, everyone's been in masks.
Well, and that's interesting because they actually had, I think when they mandated the mask, they said kids under 2 years old don't require a mask. And at that point, that's very interesting because kids are more prone because they're not up to date. The immune system isn't built up yet like an adult. So I've always been curious, like, why would adults need to wear a mask and kids don't need to wear a mask if their immune system is more sensitive than the adult?
There's definitely a lot of conflicting information. There's no question. And often it's from the scientists who are giving us the instructions, you know, and I'm not taking sides. I'm not saying you should wear one, you shouldn't wear one. I think the one thing I will state loud and proud is everyone should have the freedom to make their own decisions. 100%. I mean, you know, you can't.
Well, that's what America was based on, right?
Right. Bodily autonomy has to be number one. You know what I mean? And I'm all for public health information and whatever. And if you want to, I'm even okay with segregating different areas. A lot of people complain that that's just a horrible idea, but you know what? If I feel concerned, if I feel like I'm at risk and I still want to go sit down in a restaurant, if you want to create a completely separate section where everything is totally sanitized, you have to have a hood, a mask, and all kinds of stuff, fine, do it. And if you have another section for people who don't, fine. I think everyone should have choice. And the minute we start taking away choices, when we're really in trouble. That's just my personal opinion. But let's switch real quick before we end this segment. You know, it's also more than just COVID and, you know, the mask wearing. There are some we're right in the middle of election counting, whatever you want to call this.
Look and see if anything came out yet.
I am not even looking at my phone.
Right. And you know, Min and I have done a really good job over the last several months in staying tight-lipped and not bringing politics into this, but you cannot deny that from a security perspective, there's a lot going on, particularly in New York City, and being a parent. And what do you do? How do you live your life, watch your kids, make sure that they're having some sort of normalcy, but also watching and staying aware of what's going on a regular basis.
And also watching back.
It's challenging. To tell you the truth, I no longer leave the house without my firearm.
Really?
I no longer leave the house without my firearm because I don't know what challenge is going to be posed or presented before me at any given time. My job as a parent, I am a parent first and foremost. I'm a cop second. I'm a mom first.
Yeah.
My job, and I tell my children, is to protect you, keep you safe, and guide you into being good human beings. That is my job as a parent. I am to guide you to being a good human being, but my job is also to protect you and keep you safe.
So I don't leave the house, and the kids don't leave the house without a bulletproof backpack.
You got one?
Yeah,
I sell them. I sell them. Yeah.
10-4 this way.
You got it. Absolutely.
10-4 this way.
And there's all different types, like styles or whatever, but it's the truth. I mean, I carry it anyway. You know, I had the super fancy expensive one, but now I got a bulletproof one, because, and you can actually select the number of panels in there. I'm not trying to shamelessly plug my own.
No, plug away.
But it's the truth. You know, I don't leave the house without them. I need to carry it anyway. It's, you know, I used to use it as a diaper bag. Now we don't really need diapers anymore, but I'll throw snacks and all kinds of stuff for the kids. And I make sure it's always around, because you just don't know. And we live in a really good community. You just don't know.
Nope, you don't know.
No, you don't. You don't know. And it's very difficult. And you want to let your children be children, and you want to let them experience their life. And like you said, I live in a good community. Min, you live in a good community. You know, we live in good communities. But that doesn't mean anything, because as we've seen, Antifa and BLM come into these good communities.
It happens.
And rioters come into good communities.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm not saying that you know, that things, you know, that just certain people do bad things, because children do show up missing as well. We do have 100%. Human trafficking.
Yeah.
Okay. And my job is to protect those children that I gave birth to, that are mine. That's my job. And I try to let them be kids, and I try to give them as much autonomy as I can give them. And I still have to be aware, and I still need to make sure that they're safe and they're, you know, in a controlled environment. And thank God that they're little. Thank God that they're little, because I keep hearing little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems.
Yeah.
My dad worked in, huh?
They're all problems at the end of the day that we gotta manage.
Yeah, they're all problems at the end of the day. But like, you know, my dad, we lived, you know, growing up in the city, my dad worked for the Department of Corrections. I had to be home at 10 o'clock at night before he went off to work. I was 16 years old, 17 years old. And I was in high school, and he was like, you have to be home at 10 o'clock, because he couldn't go to work and knowing I was out there. And if I wasn't home at 10 o'clock, they were looking for me.
Yeah.
Because I had to be home at a certain time. And that's kind of like the way I'm raising my kids to be, or trying to raise them, is that they're home at a certain time, because it gave them peace of mind. It gave him peace of mind, because if someone had a vendetta against my father, you could take it out on the kids.
Yeah. You know what? I say that all the time. I talk to a lot of the executive protection folks, and, you know, in our family, we have some potential targets similar to, you know, if somebody was in law enforcement, that, you know, if somebody had it out for one of these individuals, it's not that hard to track people down. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you just don't know. You piss somebody off enough and they could lose it. They could snap. And there's plenty of people out there snapping today. So you got to always, and I guess that's part of being in security, right? Is really keeping your head straight, being aware, and raising kids that are aware, but also not completely losing your sanity at home. Right?
Well, I also started to teach my kids, believe it or not, ways to defend themselves.
Yep. As Min does, and as soon as mine can, you know.
You know, like, you know, and they, you know, they haven't taken any structured classes yet, but I tell them, you know, I show them the soft points of the body. If someone comes near them, where to hit them. If we have a home invasion, I tell them, you know, I've given them ideas of what to do, where to hit someone, where to attack someone. I tell my kids, houses are great. We have tons of weapons in this house. And I'm not talking about firearms. I'm not talking about firearms, you know, but a fork or a knife is
Mhm.
just as effective when you're, you know, when you need to defend yourself. You know, the kitchen's a
that.
Hopefully they're not
pin.
defending against each other. That's the only problem.
Yeah, as long as they're not
No, I
defending
keep the
against each
weapons
other.
hidden for reasons. Let's put it that way right now.
You know, you tell your kids your toy, you know, the toys, the heavy
Yeah.
the toys like blocks, they're great weapons,
Mhm.
great way to defend themselves, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, I hate to do this, but these are little drills that you do. I personally do with my kids because
Yeah.
I don't want them being victims.
Agreed.
And you know,
Exactly what you're gonna do. It's scary what we teach our kids, especially in this field, because I know I say certain things, and I know parents when they hear me like, "What is she talking about?" I'm like, "Don't worry, you don't need to know. I'm just teaching my kids what need to be done."
Right.
you know,
Wow.
like, and I won't personally say some of the stuff I've taught my children
Mhm.
to do because it's a little savage.
Mhm.
Well,
I'm not gonna lie.
and when it's
It's
life
and
and death, when it's life and
but
death in martial arts, you hit where it hurts and you break quickly and you run. I'm sorry to
yeah,
say, it's not savage.
yes.
It's life and death. Sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm no, I'm talking about a little bit more savage than that. You know, you're I taught my kids, okay, this is where you need to hit it as hard as you can. They're never gonna see it coming because of how tiny you are. And then you pull it out and you run.
Well, and
And
let's
then you
not
attack someone else. You know, it's like, and my kids are looking at me like, okay, mommy, you know, and it's kind of like I have to teach them how to protect themselves because if I don't teach it, I fail them as a parent.
Totally agree.
Yep.
Totally agree. There's a difference between scaring the crap out of your kids and actually just making them aware.
Yep.
And part of the awareness piece is what to do to avoid getting yourself in a compromising situation. That's half the battle. You know, if you can avoid, when we were kids, what did they tell you? Don't take
Stranger
chances from
danger.
strangers. Right, stranger
danger.
danger. Yeah, and I'm so shocked that in this day and age, a lot of parents don't even teach that.
Because here's my laugh on it, okay? Years ago, we were told never meet someone, never go to some place where you met someone online, okay?
Right.
Don't get into a stranger's car. What are we doing? We're getting on these stupid things. Oh, I met someone. Oh, I'm going to take an Uber. I'm going to, what you're doing? What?
Yeah.
You're going online. You're meeting someone that you met online. You're going to go meet them at Starbucks for coffee and you're going to take an Uber to get there. And
Yeah.
Uber, you don't know who the Uber driver is. And you're going to go from an app online to an Uber. This is why society is all messed up because you're going into strangers' cars.
Yeah.
This is why stranger danger doesn't exist anymore. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
I don't believe in it. I'm not getting into an Uber. I don't know who you are. You could have killed the Uber driver. I mean,
oh
and I'm
man.
supposed to trust an app. I'm supposed to trust an app. I don't get trusted and I'm a cop, but I'm supposed to trust an app. Give me a break. I'm like, this is what happened to society. This is why we don't have stranger danger anymore because now we live our lives online.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think we are coming to an end, right, Elisa, at the time?
We are at the end of our segment, but we are going to do more of these. We love having you on, Nicole.
Thank you guys.
You're definitely one of the more passionate and animated folks that we have on, and I love it. We try to really keep it with only interesting folks that we invite on the show. So
I take that as a compliment that you think I'm that interesting.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm pretty passionate. You can't see it. I try to dampen it a little bit, but I am pretty passionate about a lot of things. So I very much respect how much you care about your job, care about your kids. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. We love to hear other folks that are as passionate as we are. So but yes, you're right. It's the end of our segment. I can't wait to have you back on, Nicole. We'll definitely book some more time. And thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.
And just a one word, never late a first punch.
Bye.
Never late a first punch. Bye.
All right. See you later.